Hey all, it's Taylor, and this is the INNOCN 27A1S, which is a 1440p 27-inch OLED monitor, and it has a ton of premium features, including 240 Hz, 0.03 millisecond response time, a USB with 65-watt power delivery, a matte WOLED screen. It has front-facing speakers, front-facing microphones, a premium stand, and even has a wireless charger at the base of the stand, which is pretty extra, especially considering its price, which is $549.99, which is by no means cheap, but for an OLED monitor, that is definitely on the more affordable side, considering some rivals with similar specs are more expensive. So today I'm going to take you on a tour of everything the INNOCN 27A1S has to offer. Before I get into the 27A1S, I want to let you know that this video is not sponsored. However, INNOCN did send me this monitor free of charge for review, which was very kind of them. I will have the link to this monitor in the description below, where you can look at the specs or purchase it if you would like. If you want to support the channel, hit that like button and subscribe. Starting off with the packaging, the 27A1S came very well packaged in the box, which is a very nice thing to see. Right at the top of the box, there is a package with documentation, including a color calibration factory report with the sRGB on one side and the DCI P3 reading on the other. It also comes with a little help card as well as a quick setup guide. At the top, there is a large bag of cable and accessories, including VESA mount adapter pegs, a power cable, a USB cable for the USB-A adapter, a DisplayPort 1.4 cable, a USB-C cable, and an HDMI 2.0 cable, as well as the power brick. Taking the lid off the packaging here is the actual panel itself. I'm gonna go ahead and just clip on the stand there and then screw on the base plate. Very easy installation. Taking off the protective film reveals that matte anti-glare screen, and it does look quite glorious. One of the things that immediately struck me was how thin the actual panel is. At the front, you can see those two stereo speakers along with those microphones. At the bottom, there is vents and a joystick. At the back, you have the headphone holder, which is very convenient for placing headphones, and it looks quite nice with them just hanging there. There's also a little hook on the bottom where you can stick your cables through. That way they stay nice and tidy out of the way. At the back, you have tons of ports, including two USB-A, the USB-B adapter, HDMI 2.0, two DisplayPort 1.4 cables, USB Type-C, audio, and the power cable. The stand will tilt up and down. It will swivel left and right. And also has height adjust, which is very smooth on these bearings. The top has some vents, and there is an internal fan to keep all the components nice and cool. At the bottom, there is more vents to suck air into the system, as well as a joystick. This doubles as a menu navigation and a power button. You're going to want to be sure to not select Chinese when you initially set up the monitor like I did here. You're going to want to nav over to English, which is a little harder than it should be. I'll get more on that later, but I did have to hunt through the menus to find English. Speaking of the on-screen display, there are tons of options here, including game settings, picture settings, color settings. There's picture-in-picture if that is your thing. You have lots of hotkey functions. And you also get these little crosshairs that you can put on the screen, as well as a display showing you what the current hertz of the monitor is running at. And you can also put a timer in the right-hand corner. The on-screen display is where you'll also be able to control the lighting for the 27A1S. And there's a surprisingly good amount of options here, including color, strength, and the type of lights you want to see. But now let's talk about the gaming experience. Here I am connecting in the USB-C to my laptop, which is warning me that 65 watts is not enough to power the system. This is completely normal since this is a gaming laptop, and the gaming experience is really smooth with 240 Hertz. On average, with my gaming laptop with a Ryzen 9 7845HX and an NVIDIA RTX 4080 laptop graphics card with DLSS enabled, I'm getting 234 frames per second, which is a very healthy number and almost hits that 240 Hertz threshold that this monitor can support. With the 27A1S being an OLED monitor, this means that the individual black pixels can be all the way turned off, which makes games with very dark environments super immersive, like Dead Space. In comparison, this is the Alienware AW2721DW, which is an IPS LED screen, and you can immediately tell that the black levels are much worse on the LED. I also want to compare to the Alienware AW3225QF, which is also an OLED, but it is a QD-OLED, slightly different technology from Samsung, and it is a glossy monitor. This gives a little bit of a different look than the WOLED. Let's now talk about HDR on the 27A1S. Because it is 10-bit, it does support HDR. Turning it on in Windows will immediately wash out all the colors, but all you need to do is turn on HDR inside the on-screen display for the monitor, and everything just comes to life. In Resident Evil 2, I'm running through this hallway in SDR mode just to give you a sense of what it looks like here. Here it is with HDR off inside the monitor's on-screen display. Here it is in standard in the monitor's on-screen display. And then there's also a movie mode in the on-screen display, which makes things a little bluer. I want to do a slowed down side-by-side with SDR and HDR standard here. You can immediately tell that in the HDR screen, you can see the light is much brighter in that corner. However, you might notice that SDR has more color, more saturation. That's because HDR is going to look a little bit more washed out than SDR, but this is completely normal and happens with all TVs and monitors. This monitor, though, I think handles HDR very well. The colors still look really great. There are two speakers in front, each are 10 watts in a stereo orientation, as well as a microphone array. Here's how those sound. Here's what the microphone sounds like. Distance, it's probably pretty quiet. Here I am right up next to it. So how does it sound? Distance, here's right up next to it. For reference, this is the iPhone 16 Pro Max at about the same distance as my laptop webcam. And which one sounds better to you? I'm gonna take a guess, and I'm gonna say it's the iPhone in both video and audio. I have to talk about connecting consoles to this monitor because this really is a great monitor to connect your PlayStation or Xbox. When you plug it in, the PlayStation will immediately recognize the image as 1080p. However, you can go into the test 1440p output wizard, and once you complete that, the PlayStation will recognize that the resolution is 1440p. And this is just a great experience. Here in Elden Ring, the colors of the OLED just really pop, and the smoothness of the display makes these combat encounters just really, really enjoyable. Adding on top of the fact that there is two stereo speakers in front, you really do get the whole console experience here. Can't be all fun and games all the time, unfortunately. The real world hits and productivity is important. So I am happy to report that this monitor does very well. Connecting via USB-C to a Mac computer will get you the full 1440p experience in full 240 Hertz. You can even enable HDR if you're working on HDR content. And this monitor's color is really great, which makes it very good for doing color important work like editing photos or videos. Here's the color measurements I got for some of the modes, with movie being the most color accurate and P3 being the least color accurate. You might notice that these don't exactly line up with the sheet I showed earlier with the color report that was provided from INNOCN. I'm not really sure what's going on here, but the results that I got were not as good as INNOCN claims. I was averaging about 173 nits of brightness on the monitor. As far as coding and text on the monitor, it's decent. It's not great. It's not going to be as clear as a 4K screen, but it does all right. The WOLED definitely helps to smooth out some of the text. On close inspection here, you can see when you get really close, it does get a little pixely and grainy, but when you pull further away from the monitor, it does clear up quite a bit. Particularly noticeable places, including the settings, and some apps like Clean Your Mac do have really grainy fonts. The viewing angles are really good though. No loss in color, no loss in brightness. Viewing this monitor at extreme angles is very good. And when you want to take a break from work, you can also play games on your Mac at the full 240 Hertz. Granted, the game supports 240 frames per second. You can even enable this eye shield reminder, which will give you a friendly little notification when you've been using the monitor for too long and you need to take a break. I would also recommend turning off the screensaver, which is defaulted to 3 minutes. Otherwise, after 3 minutes, if there's nothing moving on the screen, it will turn off. And you can also charge your phone with a 15-watt wireless charger in the base of the stand. Talking about those ports for a moment, HDMI 2.0 here. So you are only going to get a maximum of 144 Hertz when you plug this into a graphics card or computer. You're only getting 144 Hertz. This is a little disappointing. I wish this was 2.0. However, with DisplayPort and USB-C, you will be able to get the full 240 Hertz at 1440p. Additionally, this monitor has adaptive sync, which will make it compatible with G-Sync on your graphics card if you have an NVIDIA graphics card. You just turn it on in the settings menu here. When it's off, you'll see that the monitor is listed, but there's no option to apply G-Sync here. When you actually turn it on in the on-screen display, expect the screen to flash, and then when you re-click on the monitor in the NVIDIA control panel, you will get the option to enable settings for the monitor. And when you click apply, it will also black out. After that's done, it will be G-Sync enabled. Something to be aware of though is you might see it blanked out. If this is the case, that means that you are plugged in to a graphics card that doesn't support it. For instance, here I'm plugged into the Intel integrated graphics. Let's talk about the joystick and the way it interacts with the menu system, because it is absolutely crazy. Right on the joystick is confirm, left on the joystick is cancel, up and down is to make selections left and right. And if you're going through this menu system that has things stacked left to right and confirm messages that are left to right, hitting up and down for those things is so unintuitive, and I really wish there was a different system that INNOCN would put on their monitors, because it's just crazy and I hate it. The 27A1S also comes with a 1-year product warranty, which is frankly just too short. I would be a little nervous purchasing an OLED monitor with a 1-year warranty. I know that that helps keep the cost down, but really with these monitors, you want the highest level of warranty that you can get, and I feel like 1 year is just too low. And that's the INNOCN 27A1S. Let me know what you think of this monitor in the comments below. Also comment if you want to see a more focused video on specific features of this monitor. I'll definitely take those into consideration. I'll have this monitor linked in the description below if you choose to purchase it, or if you just want to take a look because you're curious. That link will be in the description. Leave a like if you like the video, subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.